everybody. Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 12, There Is a Tide, is over. And it's only been for a couple of minutes up here in Canada for a special New Year's Eve podcast. As the countdown approaches, I'm Dave Mater coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews, joined with my wife, Jane Mater. Jane, you're back.
I'm back.
You're back.
Yes.
You missed 10 podcasts.
I'm awake.
You're awake.
I'm staying up to midnight tonight.
You're staying up to 10:20. Also joining us, we have co-host Adam Woodward with his pooch. How are you doing, Adam?
Hi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And joining us for the first time, special guest, we have Mike O'Connor, who I've not met before tonight, but very glad to have you here to talk about this episode. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, guys. Big fan of the show, and Happy New Year. Glad to be here.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. And our Michael Chan, we know you're out there. We do miss your presence this week, but we will catch up with you for the finale, which will air next week. But let's talk about this episode. So this was kind of the part 2 to last week. It was a real continuation of this. Osira took the ship. There was this crazy cliffhanger. We were left hanging. We didn't know how things were going to go. And it starts off even worse as it's clear that Osira is using Discovery as a Trojan horse to get into Federation headquarters. And that's where most of this episode takes us tonight. I'm going to go to Jane first. Jane, I haven't asked you. Did you like this episode?
I did.
Yeah.
Again, another episode I like. I noticed at one point we were both on the edge of our seats, like literally on the couch. I liked it. I gotta say, it's felt like a little bit of a Christmas episode, a little Die Hard-ish.
Die Hard in a spaceship, perhaps?
Die Hard in a spaceship, which I liked. Great.
Oh yeah, well, I tend to agree. We're gonna break it all down here tonight. Adam, how are you feeling about There Is a Tide?
I love this episode. I feel good about last week's episode because I was a little bit off last week. I gotta tell you, this week was great. I enjoyed it a lot. I like the analogy to Die Hard. That was pretty cool. But my favorite part of this episode, we'll get to it, I'm sure, is the conversation with Osira and Vance. I think that was awesome. It was just a great little chess game going there, but really get some good surprises in there, and but really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I think Osira is an interesting character who I think we need to sort of unpack a lot more here, consider in comparison to her earlier appearances. Going over to you, Mike. Mike, so I guess we'll start with how are you feeling about the show overall this season, and maybe more specifically tonight with this episode. But since it's your first appearance here, how do you feel about Discovery?
Yeah, well, I love the season. I think there are some interesting pacing choices that they've made that leave me kind of hanging at some points. But overall, really solid. Some of the storylines, again, with the pacing are, I question, but they're, as we get into episode 12 here, very excited. And this was an action-packed episode. I was waiting for this, take back the ship. I don't think we got the full story of taking back the ship, but we definitely got a lot of action this episode. And then, as Adam alluded to, some really good meat between Vance and Osiris in that Accord discussion. So just really super episode. And I think as we get to the end, I'm starting to see the pieces tie together. Just really kind of formulating the master plan here. It's cool.
Yeah, there was some really interesting drama here tonight. Some conflict, in particular. I think this Stamets and Michael Burnham stuff that we got very briefly near the end here. I thought they were really trying to make it a connection. Where Stamets is like, "We came to the future for you. Why?"
Yeah.
I got my issues with Stamets, but there was some heavy stuff there. We also had the death of Rin, our Andorian friend tonight. Even though Book tried to plead for his life, he goes out here. R.I.P. Rin. I was just starting to like thee.
So he was on the ship. Did I catch that? Because I know you guys were talking last week. Was he still on Discovery or?
I guess
he was still there. He was there when they captured the ship.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
But we didn't know that.
You didn't know that last week. I know it was a question. Yeah.
Right. Even though, he had already told the Federation all about the Emerald Chain and had given them a lot of intel as well. he makes a stand with Book in this episode. They give him many chances to get out, and I was like, why do you keep saying, hey, if you want to leave, you can? I think because they wanted to show that his death was sort of avoidable, maybe, and especially tragic. And Osiris just blows him away after Book seems to plead for him. But there's also that headline at this hour, I think. Let's bring that back. Yeah. Andorian opera. We also had this character introduced tonight in this scientist whose name I think was what was his name? Aurelio. This actor has been on the show before. This is Kenneth Mitchell.
I wanted to look him up because I'm like,
yeah,
has he been on Discovery?
Yes, he's played many characters. You may remember him in his first season when he played this Klingon named Kull, who was from the House of Kor. He was the one who took over the sarcophagus ship, and he, Michael Burnham beat him in like a chess match sort of thing, and in like kind of a gunfight in the bridge area. He also played this Klingon albino who was the child of Tyler / Vok and Laurel, who lived in that time universe with the time crystals in season 2. They bring and this character who he played in another episode, I think in season as well. But this episode directed by Jonathan Frakes, and it's clear that Frakes just keeps bringing back this actor over and over again. This time as a human who plays Aurelio. Thank you, Mike. Who is a scientist for the Emerald Chain. And the Emerald Chain has human members, as does the Federation. So it's kind of more about state than it is about what planet you come from or species you originate from at this point.
I think kind of fascinating tonight is that, man, the Emerald Chain is not a terrorist group. It's an organization. Like, they have scientists, they have diplomats, they have a whole core of. I mean, this became quite interesting tonight, rather than just what the Emerald Chain was up till now. I think we just believed it was looking for the lithium, but there's way more to it.
Yeah.
Right, really, but why? Back to but I think it really took me back to, on that point, some of the episodes in TNG where you really got a sense that this was a political kind of. They were looking at some political ideas and exploring, different societies and cultures and things. I thought it was really cool, and it actually left me wanting a lot more of the Emerald Chain.
Right. Okay. And so I think we need to talk about Osira here and exactly what Osira was getting at. So Osira nefariously took the ship last episode, right? Mm-hmm. And Osira taunted Tilly and we saw that Osira fed her nephew to the worm thing in a previous episode as well. That she's not we're not supposed to like her. We're supposed to know quite clearly she's bad. They brought back that guy from episode 2, the guy from Dawn of the Dead 2004. Let's call him Frostbite, as he had the frostbite and he couldn't use his hand. So she had that guy working for her in this one. Book and Michael crash into the ship because they said this is what she did on such and such planet. She got in the front door and then she blew up the embassy, right? But then we see this whole turn of slight, where it's we're actually trying to make peace with you, and we have this whole treaty worked out, and we're gonna undo slavery. We're gonna all these things you want. And we're going to trade technology because we need each other. They brought back Buddy, Mr. Lie Detector here, to kind of verify her motives. But I was not buying it.
Mike, I think that was for our benefit, the viewers' benefit in this case, because you need to speed this up. Is she legitimate? Is she not legitimate? And having the lie detector guy there, just sort of skip that forward and said, she's telling the truth.
Yeah. I was trying, it was just, I believe her. But it just, in my memory, I'm trying to remember, it reminds me of other stories, what, an anti-hero, whatever. She wants to do good, but she's at her core bad. So it's
is that what it is?
That's how I took it. She does want this. She's being truthful. But
there was better ways to do it.
She can't help herself.
Right? She knows she's got to check her class. Yep. she's an excellent character in that way. And I think it was really interesting to see her come at Vance with this accord and be truthful and be, thinking about her people. Very interesting to see that the personal side of it still sticks out in the end, and her ego takes over.
But at the same time, they were playing the scientist was going on. What's his name again? Pardon me.
Aurelio.
But you've got Aurelio going about how he's trying to make things better too. So you've got these two storylines happening at the same time, which is legitimizing what she's saying even more. Mm-hmm. So I like that. It was very clever how it was done tonight. To tie this in, because if that guy in the white wasn't there, I don't think we would have bought it. We'd be waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah, and he catches her on one lie right towards the end, which so she has been truthful,
that she couldn't be the representative, which hadn't even occurred to her. Right. Yeah. Then she kind of goes, well, yeah, I guess I can't be the face of the Emerald Chain. And then he goes, well, it has to be someone independent. She's like, of course. And that was her first lie, supposedly. Okay, fine. So, but ultimately Vance throws it in her face and says, no, you have to stand trial for the things you've done. You've done a lot of bad things and we can't just let that go. What are your reactions to that? Adam, did he do was that the right thing, or was that sort of dumb?
I think that the talks were very early to drop that bomb in. You've got an olive branch handed to you, Vance, and you basically turned it away. Now, maybe that had to be done. I'm not a negotiator by trade, but I found that actually. I think he was a little too heavy-handed right there. And I get the history. I understand that. But did you need to drop it then? I'm not sure.
Well, that's her argument, right? She says you have to let go of the past. And he says, no, the past is the light to which we look towards the future. Does he have a point, Jane?
Well, I think I was like, I was so mad at him. But I guess he's being high in his Federation ideals. And
no, I was like, yes.
Oh, because you didn't trust her.
I still don't.
Well, no. So I'm like, this is a great idea. Go for it. Of course, I was still a little weary, but no, I don't think he should have done it at that moment. I agree.
I think he should have. I think he was good to stick it to her because, she kidnapped the crew. She insulted Tilly's ego, bruised her ego. That was the worst she said she did. Well, it wasn't nice. It was kind of a dumb move. You're kind of alienating someone you're trying to make peace with, kind of unnecessarily.
But don't you think you can make peace with bad people, bad civilizations or countries, and with a history? And
I guess it depends.
You're kind of bad, but you want to be good going forward. Okay, let's give it a try.
It depends, right? Like if tomorrow North Korea, for instance, wanted to make peace with the world, would Kim Jong-un be responsible for murders he's committed over the last so many years? I think you have to Gorbachev or any kind of world leader who's maybe done atrocities, who you're trying to make peace with, Hitler even, right? Like if you can compare her to Hitler or to someone of that nature who's committed atrocities in the name of her state, or his state. I don't know. Mike, over to you.
To be honest, at first I was a little surprised at how enthusiastic Vance was at engaging her, and even saying, I want to learn so much from your great society. I'm like, hold on a second. I like Vance a lot. There's been something about him, and I don't know if it's the whole Admiral effect from what we've seen in Star Trek, but there's something that's missing that I don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. But him jumping into bed so eagerly with the accord and just going, oh, yeah, no, this makes sense. Let's do this. It really actually made me trust him a little bit less until he pulled that trump card on her and said, okay, whoever you pick to represent the chain can't be affected by any of your influence and has got to prosecute you. I thought that was a great move by him. Figured it was going to really, really upset her. but I think some of the tactics, even all the way throughout this conversation, were interesting. We finally find out, how they make the replicator food. I thought that was a really
They're into it. It's shit. Oh, you
Right?
like our fruit plate? Do you? You like apples? Well, I've never eaten a real apple. But it's good shit. It's pretty good for shit. Yeah. Well, I think and interesting too about maybe that metaphor, and also about Vance, because Vance is somebody we've all been pretty high on throughout the podcast, throughout the season. We like him, but I think there is this mysterious effect to Vance. Osira asks, "Where's the Federation president?" He goes, "Well, I've been authorized to speak for the Federation president, whoever that is." We don't really know who Vance speaks or answers to.
Did we know there was a president before, or has it always been a militaristic?
Well, they said that there's been a Federation Council. The Federation Council was moved to this location after the burn, so like sometime after the burn,
But
and has been here since.
Never heard of them, right? At this point, yeah. Other than that,
they haven't been shown, and they've barely been referenced, but they have been said to be there. But we don't know what the makeup of that is. We don't know who is the head of the government. Vance has been the only face of that.
There was one point before she met with Vance, so she talked to one of her crew. She said something that made me think, are they going to flip this on us, that the Federation is bad? Like, it popped into my head still. So I'm still a little worried that it'll flip one day, because we don't know that much still about the Federation.
No, we don't. It's a good point.
Well, we're going to see what happens with, Michael got Stamets out. That was her big save here, because Stamets is the only person only being in the universe who can make the spore drive work, right? So Stamets is sort of this unique commodity.
She's doing exactly what she said she'd do. She promised Vance that she would never put the many at risk again for a mission for 1 or 2 or 3
for personal feelings,
right?
And I think I want to talk a bit about Stamets here. Everything that happens with him tonight. We have these scenes he has with Aurelio, which I think are really interesting, and I think that the two of them work those scenes really well. But after that kind of all plays out and Stamets is free, he finds out that Hugh's still on this mission. That he admits to Aurelio earlier in their scene that Adira is basically his child. Like, he has adopted Adira, which is, are we moving a little fast? It's my question.
How long? Like, how many weeks are we in here? Like, for
at most they've been together for a few months. Okay, so maybe at most 6.
We've been talking about that for weeks, though. I mean, what the relationship is? Is it brother? Is it mentor? Is it just friend? But I'm not unhappy with that he feels he's the father figure here at all. I think it's I've quite enjoyed that dynamic that's come up, and then Hugh into it last week. So it's not unhappy with that conversation at all. And if that's how he feels about it, it makes it even more real that he wants to get back to them. When he found out that she was down on the planet, not just Hugh, but Adira's there and Saru's there. I mean, my goodness, he just fell apart.
Yeah, you felt it. Yeah, you really did.
I get it, and I think that Anthony Rapp played it well, because Stamets is a character I'm often left wanting more from. I'm like, come on, give me more, but he's often left waiting. This season he hasn't a lot to do other than bond with Adira, kind of patch things up. Continue patch things up with Culber, and it's great, and I'm not unhappy that this is where they're headed. We've kind of been saying as much. I'm just saying, episode 12, has it been earned, Mike?
I too have wanted to see a little bit more out of Stamets. I want to see him do a little bit more engineering. I feel like they just, with giving him the hand interface into the spore drive, they just kind of set him nice and easy. It's not that hard. He doesn't have the physical interface anymore. And I do think this is a really good arc for him, but I think there is more room for the character. I really do. And I think more room on the science side. I'd love to see some of the innovations that he can pull off. And maybe in the future, we're going to see him work with Aurelio.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, I think that's possible that they're going to explore that more. I think Stamets is an interesting Starfleet officer, I think, because he was kind of conscripted into the service. He was a scientist who, the Klingon War broke out, and they kind of threw him into the service in wartime. And now but he's not. I don't know. Does he really have it in him to like put the needs of the Federation, the needs of the good ahead of his family? Probably not.
Not right now.
But this is the problem when you bring relationships onto a starship. I mean, like, you know,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it with Michael. You see it now with Stamets, pardon me. And it's just you've got the relationships, and family is always going to be first. Like you were right. He played that role perfectly tonight. He played that, like, you could see the grief, the caring. Oh my God, I got to get to them. And Michael took that away. That relationship is broken now. Guaranteed going in. He's gonna, like, even if they get them back, I'm sure they will. But there's going to be friction between the two of those people.
I think there's a good chance one of them's not coming back between Culber and Adira. I don't know which.
They would be Culber then, most likely.
Most likely it's Culber of the two of them. But we've already lost Culber once. But I think there has to be some kind of consequence to what we saw tonight between Stamets and
or maybe it's just that we learned that Michael's has grown, because I forgot the name of the who she wasn't gonna put out the airlock with the computer face. Oh, who had control going after her last season?
Ariam,
yes, and Michael couldn't do it. So, oops, Alexa. So now Michaal made the hard choice this season. So she's grown. So maybe that's what it was about.
Yeah, but like this
thing, I mean, she didn't. She already got warned because of this. She was actually demoted because of this, right? Because she didn't make the right choice. And she said that she would never do that again, and that's where this is coming from. I think, you know what, like we talked about Michael last week, you know, becoming a better character, and again, she did it again tonight. It was good. I liked her role tonight. I thought she was very strong, but not all about Michael. And thought, the crew is first here, and she's tossing people at the airlock. She's fighting. She got a knife in the leg. She
lost her shoes.
She lost her shoes and her socks.
Bare feet.
Yeah, bare feet.
Just like John
bare
McClane.
Feet and bloody.
This was kind of like that. I think that was the Die Hard.
When her feet landed, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Die Hard.
Yeah, she's walking around with shoes and
it's broken glass, and she would have been there.
Yeah. I think she got to be a little bit of an action hero in this episode. I thought there was some times where she was running through the Jeffries tubes that were it was a little long. I think some pacing there, but
in the Jeffries tube, did you guys know she called mom? She sent an SOS.
Okay, yeah, I was the religion thing I noticed tonight, heaven, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she in the middle of this crisis, while she's on the ship, after because her and Book crash into the ship, pretty. It was kind of exciting, right? They timed it just when the shields go down, they go right through and they got there from the transwarp hub, right? That Osira had used to get there in the first place.
Oh wait! Before you go there, his ship is so cool. The way that's
Morphin.
Yeah,
it might be Morphin Power Ranger. Yeah, it's.
Oh my gosh! I was like. That was great.
Yeah, like Book ship. First of all, this ship needs a name because every ship should have a name, and it needs. I don't know. We're gonna see will Book continue into next season? I hope so. I think Book is probably here to stay. We saw that they crashed in. He's like he takes the fall sort of. He says they'll catch me, but they won't know you're here, so you can kind of run around rogue and help out the crew. And they have this sort of romance moment, Shane. Where is this the moment I need to tell you I love you? Well, you say it in your sleep. Then there was some kissing. Then they were.
It was okay because I find it wasn't a long Michael speech, which I find that's when I don't like Michael, is when it's on her face for
close up on Michael's face.
2 minutes of Michael and her eyebrows, and I'm like. So that's what my complaint about the show sometimes is. So I love that it was just quick, boom, boom, and it was great.
What happened to the cat, though? Was it put in suspended animation?
I don't know where Grudge
She was
was.
just
I saw like
sitting in her bed. Yeah, she was
a
just
hollow of.
They deal with it very quickly. It was said so quickly that
Yeah.
I couldn't even quite figure out what they said. But they're like, "How's Grudge?" Well, Grudge is in
Grudge is like-
in the computer or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And I was like, "Is Grudge a hologram or something,
Yeah,
or is
just-
this a real cat?" I'm a bit confused.
Yeah.
Did anyone have answers for me?
No.
No.
Was she on the ship? Is she in Book ship? I don't know. Is she curled up in a little ball somewhere?
I thought she got like put into like some kind of a transporter buffer, maybe. Who knows? That cat is missing. We'll get a report next week. We'll find out where the cat's at. But the ship looked a little wrecked. They survived, but it didn't look. They seemed overly okay, actually, for how hard they crashed. So much that they worried about the cat getting hurt, but they were.
So why doesn't they kind of addressed it? But I'm like, why is there no force field, a shield, at the back? I know it doesn't ever close, but you'd think you couldn't just go in. Or was it? Or did I catch that they dropped their shields in order?
Yeah,
to
it was
get to
something like
Federation?
the ship was coming into the Federation headquarters, and it had to drop its shields to
So
go.
it was like 1 second, boom, they had to get there.
Yeah, it was.
same second.
They timed
Okay.
it perfectly, apparently.
Of
Okay.
course.
Because
they
it's of course they did. That's how they do. That's how they roll.
And
That's what.
credits, right?
Yeah, they had to do it before the credits. And then we get this thing. Okay, and then the other storyline, I guess, tonight was Tilly and the bridge crew stuck in the brig or the conference room or wherever they were. The ready room. I guess it was the ready room. It was where they were. And it was those lieutenants. We don't know their names. Well, some of them. There's
You know
Lieutenant
some of them
Reese.
now from this season. Yeah.
There was
Getting to know
they
them
were
more.
doing their tappy. They were
Morse
doing
code.
their tap 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 on the Morse code. What code was that? Book would never heard of such a code. Well, that was first year Starfleet Academy back in the 23rd century. That came in handy tonight.
I like this scene because I like seeing them kick some butt. Like I'm like, oh, the science officers have some skills here. So I like that. I don't think we've seen those bridge crew. do
Yeah,
that
it's kind of like the
before.
B Squad.
That was cool.
It's like not Tilly aside. Tilly's A Squad, but like the rest of them, Detmer and Joanna and Reese and the other one. They
who we're seeing, I think, for the first time or second time, maybe. One of the female with the dark hair. I'm not sure what her name was.
Okay, yeah.
comment here about the crash of Book's ship into the Discovery. He says maybe this is the one time that the inertial dampeners worked as intended. Well, maybe. I think they always have to be working, or they would die from accelerating into the bulkheads. But yes, it was a soft landing for Book and enough that they had a very romantic "I love you." Are you buying their romance, Jane? By the way, are you digging it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good relationship. I don't need her to start a new romance. So I'm like, just stay with this relationship. I like Book. He can stay. You can be a thing.
That reminds me though, when they did that, I'm like, oh crap, is he gonna die?
Yeah,
That crossed my mind.
you got to watch out for these. They'll take them away from you if you start to like them too much, like they did with Rin tonight. I started to like Rin, the Andorian.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Andorian. Yep.
Yeah.
Rin deserved better. Rin just deserved better.
Our justice for Rin. We got to Osiris got to die now. They got to take her out before the next episode.
I don't think so.
No?
James.
Do we know justice for Rin?
Not next week.
No, she's too good.
You think they'll keep her around?
I hope so. I
Beyond
do
the
like
season?
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe the Federation, like Vance, could have sent in some kind of external security squad to help them out during all this is going on? Like, it was kind of
Well, I just think the way Osira goes about her whole plan is ludicrous, and that's why I don't trust it. I feel like this was always even though this thing is telling us, this lie detector is telling us that she's telling the truth, and this was always her plan. She could have just sent an email. She could have sent an ambassador, an envoy. She didn't have to like capture their ship and then hold people hostages and things like that. Like if she was being sincere, she was really dumb about it, in my opinion. Like she's kind of maybe she's not worth keeping around.
Maybe she thought they would never listen to her unless she had a knife at their throat. I don't know.
Maybe this was just like, if they say no, we're still gonna have the spore drive. Was kind of maybe their other plan.
And on top of that, it's a negotiating tactic, right? So if she comes in and she knows she's surrounded by the entire Federation, what is she going to do but tell the truth? Theoretically.
Yeah.
Question here: have we had any Elcar's rocks in all of Discovery? Elcar's not exactly, but we have had systems and computers that they have from their comm badges mostly now. So there's a little bit there. We get some tech, but that's more of a 24th century thing.
Elcar's.
That's like that's
The screen.
Yeah, it's like the next gen stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, back to her calling her mom. I thought that was a little ridiculous. I didn't get that, taking the 2 minutes to do that.
Well, she got stabbed in the leg first.
So she thought she was going to die.
Yeah.
Did what?
Because that little fight she has with, what are they called? The Regulators. That's what the Emerald Chains like soldiers are called.
That was like a thing from Young Guns. Remember that?
Young Guns, like with Emilio Estevez.
Yes, they were the Regulators.
The Regulators. No. Is that like
I don't know. Other than that, that's the only reference I can remember. Young Guns.
What you talking about? Being stabbed in the leg is a Young Guns thing?
Oh, the Regulators. They were called Regulators.
Oh, okay.
Oh, like the
Regulators. Yeah, the Regulators are these Emerald Chain soldier guys who kind of look like Mirror Universe guys. Discovery Mirror Universe uniform leftovers with a different thing.
Are they androids? Are they synthetic in any way? Are they? I almost got kind of a Borg vibe off of them by one of the lines that they threw out there.
Yeah, that was a Borg line, total Borg line.
Yeah, they're people as far as I could tell. Oh, we have a
what you want is irrelevant, is what they said.
That's what it was. Yeah. Not quite resistance is futile, but it
was more like what a 7 of 9 would say.
Hey, there he is.
Jody Simpson here to share his thoughts on New Year's Eve. What's going on, Jody?
I'm not drunk or high enough.
Well, I can't help you from here, but did you watch the episode of Star Trek Discovery?
I did not. I was just stopping to say hi. That was.
Oh, well, hello, Jody. Thank you for stopping by.
And
this is Mike. Meet Mike and
Jody. I'm a big fan. I love watching the throwback that you guys do.
Nice to hear.
On Wednesday nights. Yep, big fan.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. All right. Well, anyway, I was just.
Jody will be here. We'll be here later.
We'll be here later.
We'll be here till midnight.
Okay. I might jump on
after
later.
the podcast. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So okay.
Anyway, Happy New Year's to everybody.
Happy New Year to you. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about getting stabbed in the leg, and then she called her mom. She called her mom. And yeah, back to like religion. That's another instance where religion has popped up in Star Trek. Okay, like I wasn't a fan of when her mom showed up in the earlier that she's in Quat Malat now for some reason. Like it's and then she sends her this, Mom, I don't know when you'll get this. Maybe in a different time universe or something else. I'm like, what are you talking about, Michael Burnham? What's going on here?
That was the second part of the message. If you listen to the first part of the message, it was a serious mayday. Discovery has been taken. Osiris is going to attack the Federation, and then she kind of turned it to Mom. I'm curious as to whether the Vulcans and Romulans are going to show up in the next episode as backup.
Well, I think they need to bring in all these. They've been teasing this whole season that like we met Earth, right, and then we met Trill, and then we've met Andorians who have sort of been shown, and in other species, former Federation worlds as well, and we went to Navarre, Vulcans and Romulans there too. So I feel like it's all been building to some sort of like re-establishing the Federation, right, or sort of bringing the Federation back to past glory. Maybe I don't know if they're gonna be able to do that next episode because there's still a lot more to happen, but maybe this is an arc they're going to carry over and continue into next season. Is that what it feels like?
Yeah,
maybe they take down the chain and we start to talk about really the corruption of the chain has been taken down and the people are rising up next season, and we can see the Federation come together into a much back to its former glory. Maybe.
Have we seen the Ferengi at all?
No,
because they talked about the capitalism versus Federation.
The Federation's socialism,
whatever. Yeah, and that just made me think about the Ferengi. So nothing. We saw the Ferengi Picard, like, so that's where they came up, but they haven't come up in Discovery at all yet.
No, and we haven't seen Klingons in this new
No
century
Klingons
either.
yet, yeah.
Yes, I keep waiting to see if they're going to resemble the first season Klingons or not. But we'll see. But like, I didn't even think about the Andorians. The Andorians, who I still have this sentimental attachment to, as like sort of an original Federation member world. They're in the Emerald Chain, right? So you do want to make peace here with this group because they're like sort of the other half of the Federation that broke apart, or a lot of it. But they're also kind of bad people, and they got some questionable things. And in Osira's case, like, definitely bad. Definitely not somebody I think you can. I don't think she's somebody you can make peace with. Like, I think she's just too inherently evil, right? Because
I just feel like I've seen this before. You know, resources are low. You do what you got to do, and you know it's hard, and you make the wrong choices. And sometimes she wants to be redeemable, you know. And
but she's also got a fan club out there, the people that just don't know, and it comes back to the science officer that I can't remember his name again, but he has thought her as the savior of him. Like, she believed in me, she raised me, and now I'm a science guy in her group, but he didn't even want to believe that she can do bad things until tonight, like when he actually saw poor Rin being blown away.
Right, because and his whole story was kind of touching. You know, he's like, I would have died by the age of 10 because I was born with a genetic defect here in this what's his name again? Aurelio. Bring him on screen while we're talking about him. You know, he's got the piercings in the back of his neck, which is an Orion thing. This is something they've made up for tonight, but that's fine because we don't know a lot about the Orions. And apparently for every kid they put a different bolt in their back. And, you know, so he says partner. I get the impression that Aurelio's gay, right? Or is that what that was kind of the connection Stamets and him made, right? On some level.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that, but
I missed that.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. That was sort of what I was getting from it, that they had some kind of a connection, not more than just scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And also having children. They were finding things to bond on. And he was saying, okay, but Osira found me and I would have died. But instead she saw potential in me and I became this great scientist. And you know, in this whole debate of like, she's good too, or she's not everything she appears to be. And then he's like, but she's everything she appears to be as well. And how do you reconcile somebody like that? And you know, and he's like, I have to do something, you're holding me hostage, or da right?
But that's what makes a good leader, right? People love you, follow you, even though you're evil. So you gotta give them something. And she's complex. That's why I like her.
Right.
I like the character they've
real.
Yeah,
it's real.
No.
Right. But he might have different feelings now after he saw Osira vaporize
He definitely
Rin.
does, yes.
Right. Because there was no real good reason other than she just was pissed at him.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she orders him to get the truth serum, and he's hesitating.
He's
There's a
hesitating.
little bit of hesitation there.
I think that she brought everybody back to reality about how rotten she really is after her conversation with Vance, and now, yes, she takes out a weapon and vaporizes poor Ren, who actually turned out to be great. Like, he might
have been a great Andorian opera singer. We will never know. Because they can hit different frequencies with their antennae.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah, well, I know that now.
That was the other thing. I was like, okay, not that you have to be gay to like opera, but I think that the fact that they were bonding on this opera thing was kind of like, that was kind of like in the script a little bit.
Well, it could be Anthony Rapp, like, he's from Rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, I want to talk about opera. You might like it.
I think it was Culber. Culber was a big fan of Andorian opera, and from one of the previous seasons, and Stamets hated sitting through it. And when Culber went away into the mycelial network and apparently died, that's I think he would listen to the Andorian opera and longingly remember his past. So
yeah.
I know about Klingon opera and Dorian opera. Good memory, though. I didn't remember that that from season 2. I was, I do remember that whole period.
Spock being young and replicated it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
The fruit plate. What else? Okay. Also, there was a mention here of Deep Space 253, which apparently has been trading with the Emerald Chain for a century.
Okay.
Right, and that was part of the accord she was trying to strike. Was like, no, we need to you need to recognize that deal as legitimate, because the Emerald Chain are non grata because of their uses of slavery and also concentration camps and murder. All bad things. But she's like, we'll pull those things back within like 15 years.
No. Well, she said that they had already gotten rid of slavery or did something to start.
It was like
in
motion.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, to pull her like warlords out of worlds. That was a 50-year plan, which I get.
No compromise. We cannot allow for this. We have to liberate them.
Okay. All right.
Or maybe we need diplomacy. I can't decide. What's the right thing to do. What message is Star Trek going to send to me here? But
that's why it was a good episode, right? You just made you like think and go, oh, geez, like I liked it.
It was thought provoking, I will say. Plus the whole Die Hard on the ship thing. We talked about Stamets. We talked about the whole when Michael saved him. The fact that she did the nerve pinch. We saw she gave him the nerve pinch, but then she brings him out of it a few minutes later. And he goes, "We came to the future for you." And then before she shoots him out of the ship. Mm-hmm. So what next? Where do we go from here? Well,
we have the sphere comes along.
The sphere data. Yeah, let's talk about the sphere data.
About time.
Yep.
It's about time. I've been waiting all season, other than these little blips at the beginning. Where's the sphere? Where is this all-powerful, almighty, all-knowledgeable being that obviously can do some really cool things and actually speak to Saru at the beginning, right? And give him a pep talk at the very beginning of the season, and then disappears. Where'd it go? They've been in some trouble, and no sphere data.
Yeah, because we saw here, they set this up at the beginning because they said we deleted everything from their computer except for this one little movie file, and we know that that's probably the sphere data. So they kind of plant that early in the episode. And the end, they come out in the form of those three droid thingies, which I think we've seen before, right? Yeah. But now the sphere data has been sort of divided into a Three Stooges format of robots. Do we like this?
The red, yellow, and blue. Yeah.
The red, yellow, and blue one. The Huey, Dewey, and Louie of robots.
Running.
I didn't catch that. They all had different colors. Yeah. Okay. I didn't. Yeah.
They're probably more to represent like the command science and operations, but of the Star Trek color palette. But it was interesting. Like, okay, we're going to save the ship, right? Like the three robots and the B Squad and Tilly. So they're in play. Yeah.
So Michael, are you referring to like when you call them Huey, Louie, and Dewey, like the Silent Running, 1972?
No, I'm referring to DuckTales.
Oh, okay.
DuckTales.
So movie in 1972 called
they were probably named after what you're referencing, but there's
three little robots on a ship, and I'm not kidding, this is a spaceship, and he kills all the other humans, and he's botanist, and he wants to grow the gardens, and these three little robots like these guys named Huey, Louie, and Dewey, and this guy, you got to look it up. Silent Running, great movie.
Silent Running. I have never heard of it. And I was referencing DuckTales.
Okay. Well, anyway,
are the nephews of Scrooge McDuck and Donald Duck. And it's a whole thing. So, but they had like the three different colors on their shirts and caps and whatever. Anyway, Silent Running, 1972, with Bruce Dern, father of Laura Dern.
Cool.
Yes,
I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah.
72.
Anyway, that's what I saw tonight. When I saw, there's Huey, Louie, and Dewey, I said the same thing. That's why I wondered if you saw that.
Where did Michael end up by the end of this? She was captured by frostbite, right?
I don't know if capture is right. I mean, yes, she had a gun on her. Yes, but that was good. It was left.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna regret that.
They got to get rid of Frostbite. I do not like this guy. He is
Really?
he's just so like like compared to Osira, he's just like an incompetent like henchman. He's very
that is what he is. She called him just his security.
Yeah, he's a hired gun.
Yeah,
he's just
a hired gun.
he's just some loser that she came across, and he doesn't like them either. So they've teamed up in some sort of Sinister Six or some poor villain team up here. But anyway, Frostbite's got to go. I liked his first appearance. This was weaker tonight, where he's just like, "We're gonna get you, Michael Burnham, in the Jeffries tubes. Can you hear us? We're coming." I know he doesn't talk like that, but that's how he sounds in my head.
Yeah, he was great in the first appearance. That was like the second episode.
This was weaker.
I really liked him in that one.
Yeah, but we said he'd be back, and here he is. And
here he is with one hand. He's oh, you didn't. They got me, Tilly. He doesn't. I don't know why he talks like that in my head, but that's how he talks. So that's where they also have Book. So kind of like Michael and Book are prisoners. You got Tilly and the B Squad and the Sphere Data. You still got Saru, Culber, and Adira on the Nebula and the Dilithium planet. And who am I forgetting? And then you got Stamets, who's presumably going to be with Admiral Vance and them over on the headquarters. So,
speaking of Dilithium planet, though, Burn. What Burn? Did we forget about that whole arc?
Well, I thought that it was more like the Burn originated there, so you had the dilithium, and anything outside of that, was burnt.
That was my impression, I guess, because at first I wasn't sure if the dilithium planet was real. We talked about that last week. Was that like created by Osira to sort of lure Discovery there? Was that just like sort of like was that the cheese for the mouse? But it wasn't. It would just happen that was real, and there's enough dilithium there to sort of restock either the Federation or the Emerald Chain, maybe not both, maybe both, I don't know. But it's sort of end this age of like no space travel or limited space travel is sort of at the tip of it there. And so they dangled that there. I have to imagine that's where they're all headed, where this is going to sort of all come to a head in this final episode. And that much like...
Yeah. Just from not talking about the burn at all this episode, we know kind of where the source was. We know we've got some crew left there, but this episode was really blank as far as touching or even mentioning the burn. Now, it wouldn't have kind of fit in with the story, but I think maybe that's where we're going to see that whole burn arc come back around in the finale. And is it going to be a heroes saving the day, or is it going to be another disaster?
Yeah, well, it's I'm mostly interested to see where they go with Su'Kal, because Su'Kal is the reason the burn happened indirectly. It's an indirect act. How will Su'Kal be accepted back into society with that knowledge? Like, I think that's going to it's 120 years later, so I guess they've had time to get over it. But it's I don't know. I imagine you wouldn't be Mr. Popular in the galaxy.
Well, no, he's a bomb ready to go off at any moment.
And he could cause it again unless they find a way to like scientifically, medically like defuse him, right? But I think that still has to all play out, right? The whole fact that Saru and Culber stayed, there's still a ton of story to sort of get into that. Is the next episode 2 hours? I would hope so, but I don't know if it will be.
It feels like it should be. It
feels like it should be.
But it felt that way last year too. As we got into the last couple of episodes, I was like, how are they going to wrap this up so quick?
It was almost too fast last year too, and I hope they don't do that this time, because there's a lot going on here that we have to wait a freaking year for again. I don't want to do that.
Well, I feel like that's been sort of maybe Discovery, and I think also Picard, which follows a very similar narrative structure in terms of how they produce these shows, is that like sort of like everything is like going at a pretty good pace, and then like at the end there's so much to like wrap up, they have to like jam it into this hour. I'd say that was the case of both season 1 and season 2's finales of this show. I think Picard had a similar issue with how they tried to wrap up their first season. And here we're like, okay, they got to wrap up this thing. Culber, Stamets, we got Book and thing. Where's the cat? We have to figure out what's going on with Vance and the Emerald Chain and this dilithium planet and Sukal and Tilly's becoming a commander. And there's just so much going on. And
I mean, listen, Michael Chan last week said that Saru is the guy who's going to go next step. Remember that?
Well, yeah, and I think that there it depends if Doug Jones wants to stick around or not. I think it does go with this trend of, like, we talked about who the captain of Discovery is, or even who the security chief is sort of like the Defense of the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts in the Harry Potter universe, where they've had a different captain every season and they've had a different security chief each season.
I read an article on Doug Jones. He did an interview recently, I think, where he said some actors choose to be told what their character's arc is for the next season or next season, but he likes to just read his script week to week to week. So he never really knows. He didn't know he was going to become captain or anything like that.
No,
I thought that was interesting. But there are other actors who might know.
Well, his contract, they would have to inform his agent,
course,
hey, we're killing you off from this show.
His contract, yes, but
you're not back.
Could he make this? Could he make the hero sacrifice in the last episode? Whether to save Sukal, save his home planet, save the Federation. I could see Saru making any one of those choices in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Sure, but I don't think it would be worth it. I think he's a good part of this show. He's not like, if you're going to get rid of somebody, get rid of Stamets. Like, it's but I
just don't like Stamets.
I like Anthony Rapp. The Stamets character bugs me. I'm more bugged by him tonight. The fact that, he was like, no, we have to take the ship and whatever. Hey, the ship's been taken over by terrorists, or maybe they're something else. Great society. I don't know. But, like, we got bigger problems here, Stamets. Pull it together and we will try to save them. But it's almost like, no, I have to save Culber and whatever. Well, you shouldn't. Like, if I was Vance and when this is all over, I'm breaking up this crew, at least some of them, who are directly in, like, family units together, at least. Like, probably Book and Burnham shouldn't work together. There's probably other examples of this. Like,
so you're against family units serving on starships?
If they're both in the service. I think there was also that episode where Worf and Jadzia, you remember that one where in Deep Space Nine where they go on a mission and he basically picks Jadzia over the mission. He chooses to save her. And this is what Star Trek tells us over and over again. No, you have to put the needs of the mission and the good of the many.
Picard and the flute woman.
The flute woman.
She had the keyboard. Yeah. She had the keyboard.
Oh, she had a keyboard? Okay, yeah. And he played the flute. Yeah, he made that. Yeah.
That's the morally right thing.
Yep.
You have to keep professional objectivity when you're in Starfleet and when you're trying to sort of aspire to this ideal. And that's why I bring up this whole thing with Stamets. But he's not really a Starfleet officer in this. He is and he isn't. Like, he came into the service through unconventional means. So he doesn't really have that doctrine in him like the rest of them would. He's not a command officer. He's a scientist by trade. And so I don't think, like, he's kind of in this, like, great job security role because he's been written as the only one who
kidding, yeah.
Right, but we heard Kenneth Mitchell's Aurelio say, no, we're gonna get the stem cells of the tardigrades and we're gonna make more spore drives. Is that where this is heading in season 4? Or that could be paid off more?
I think he's not going anywhere. Sorry, Dave.
It's okay. I don't mind him being here so much as, like, but when he does things like this, like tonight, where he's like, we came to the future for you.
Yeah, character being compromised by their emotions. I'm just glad it wasn't Michael Burnham this time.
Yes, this time.
Yeah. No, it was great that she flipped it on him. She's like, oh yeah, I know what it's like for this to suck. Okay, see you later. Boom.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. The only other one is Tilly. I want to talk a little bit about Tilly. So she, was part of this whole plan where we talked about the SOS and the tappy tappies and everything else, but she was kind of like, they don't want you to kill us or hurt us. She'll be really mad at you. And so she kind of, like, brings the whole team together. I like that whole moment where she says, okay, everyone grab some guns. We're going down the corridor, and if one of us dies, we keep going.
Yeah. That was
Right? Well, that's not what Stamets would do. Stamets would
no
try
one
to
left
help
behind,
people, and he would try to
right?
he would get everybody killed. Why is he a lieutenant commander and she's only an ensign? It should be the other way around.
Yeah, I feel bad for her losing the ship so quickly, like in 14
She's never gonna live
seconds
it
or
down.
something like that. No.
No.
Yeah. You remember that time?
Remember that time, the first time they put you in command and you completely lost the ship and you really got Federation headquarters blown up, and it was all of those things, and it was a big deal. Remember that?
Feel like she's getting control back, and then she's not.
Yeah. Good thing these robots came along just to help out. But I thought, I like Tilly. I'm liking her as the commander, as sort of a more of an assertive role. I've liked it in Saru this season. I think writing wise, this is the direction you need to take me, and this is why I get frustrated with characters like Stamets, because they don't follow what I think they should follow. So, but that's just my opinion. I know we don't like to talk about titles for the next week, but
Okay.
could I just talk about next week's title?
Yeah.
Next week's title is called "That Hope Is You" Part 2. Which, if you recall, the beginning of this season was called "That Hope Is You" or it wasn't called Part 1. It was just called "That Hope Is You," and that was where she met the dude who had been running the Federation observation post for 60 years since his dad died or whatever. And he's like, "Can you put me into Starfleet? I'll swear on the flag." She's like, "I will totally do that for you. Just help me find Discovery." She's like, "Yeah, of course." So anyway, that hope is you, right? He said that to Michael Burnham in that episode. I'm kind of curious, will that line be repeated? If so, by whom and to who? Or will that be said to?
That Hope Is You Part 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an out there prediction. Vance doesn't make it out of this season, and that's got something to do with it. The Federation going into a new stage. Maybe they've defeated whatever happens after this episode, but I have a feeling Vance is going to be the one that says that. Maybe he says it's to Saru. Maybe he doesn't say it to Michael Burnham. I just don't have a good feeling about Vance's chances.
Vance's chances. I hope you're wrong about that. I like Vance. I think that there's still a ton we need to learn about Vance and the Federation still, but I think he's a force. He's a positive force on this show, and I wouldn't want to see him go. I think he's been a better than Admiral Cornwall, who we had in the first 2 seasons.
You know what, though? They could absolutely, if they slow down a little bit, it'd be really cool to do an episode of Vance. Show how he came through Starfleet and became an admiral, and what. I'd love to know more about him.
Right, and he has this whole backstory with Adira, which they have not paid. More specifically, Tall. Right, as there was, what was the previous host?
Admiral on Earth.
The Admiral,
okay.
remember the Admiral Tall was the
He's
previous host and knew and knew Vance when he was a young officer, right? And sort of was a mentor. And and so there's all that stuff that we have to unpack, because they haven't talked since they first met in episode 4 or 3 or whatever it was. So it's a lot's happened, but yet a lot has not happened still. We haven't fully got a chance. I think that this ends up being the shortest season at 13 compared to the first 2 seasons. I feel like this more episodic format, but more episodes is what this show needs. I think we need more character development, but I think in general, I'm happy with what they're doing.
Yes.
We need a next generation cadence of 26 episodes or something crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this will they do that? Maybe, I don't know if that's financially feasible, but I think that's really what they do need. I think they need to put out more content, get us to know these characters, especially since you have so many. Right, there's a lot of Starfleet crew and supplementary characters and sort of peripheral bad guys, who are sort of floating out there now. Oh, Mike's dropped off. He'll be back, I'm sure. Okay, but let's segue while we wait.
If I can say one comment about this year, I mean, I've loved every episode. You know this, but that's absolutely rushed. You're right. We missed key things, and there's so many backstories we can do here. I'd love to know more, and
Just there's so much meat on the bone left to be had here. It's good stuff. Like, give us more with these characters. Give us more story.
Yeah.
I hope there's books now I can go read or something, because just to fill some story in behind the scenes. So.
I'm sure like fans of shows like The Mandalorian are saying very much the same thing too. Like, give us more Mandalorian, and they're like, well, we can't afford it because it's hard. There's Mike, and let's also bring in the ratings, as we will give a rating for tonight on this episode. Okay, so welcome back, Mike. Okay, so
connection issues on New Year's Eve.
That happens. No worries. Okay, so we're gonna give this episode a rating out of 10. This episode was called, what was it called? There Is a Tide, which is a Shakespearean line. It has to do with like sort of taking opportunity. Like when the tides are in, you have to sort of go, because a ship can't leave port when it's not in tide or something. Anyway, that's what it's about. Let's go to Jane first, because I need to know what Jane wants.
Looking at my previous one, I'm gonna go with 9.2.
Wow, that's a pretty good rating, even better than last week. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Michael's not here, and Mike, I invite you to give the next rating.
Very cool. I'm going to give it a 9.3.
9.3.
9.3.
Adam?
Yeah, this is definitely a 9. It brought that episode from last week way up for me, so I'm very happy with this one.
You go 9 even?
9 even.
Okay. Jaemeel is also not. Well, he was only on the first episode, really. Okay, and then I'm gonna go. I'm definitely. What I gave last week a 9.5. This is like, probably a 9, just a 9 for me, but still really good. Maybe this will hold up. I think just that phone call from Michael to her mother, and that's probably my point off.
Yeah, that one.
That was weird.
Yeah, that was.
So, okay. So that is an average between the four of us at 9.1. One of the.
But that phone call might bring in, like you said,
I'm sure it's going to tie into the finale. I'm sure it will. So There Is a Tide. One of the better rated. You can see our ratings all this season have been high. Our average overall is 9 out of 10. We haven't had an episode go below 8.6. It looks like, or 8.5. So this has been a super strong season. We keep telling our fellow podcasters, the Jeff Maders, the Jody Simpsons, the Kevin Millards, you should watch this. You should.
Jody's
watching. Jody's been watching. But the rest of them have given up on the show. We're like, no, you should really consider coming back. And I think that this, because the show reinvented itself in a lot of ways that I think really helped it.
Yeah.
And I think they just got to keep going with it, guys. Stay the course and give us more. If anything, give us more episodes like this. But I think they had to kind of see how the public responded to the season. I hope that the rest of the fan base feels like we do, that this has been strong. And if anything, you can tweak some things, maybe take a couple things out here and there. But no Star Trek is perfect. We watch all these different Star Treks every week, and they all have their issues as well. So it's all about what you like, really, is what it comes down to. Okay. Fruit plate tastes pretty good for shit. What else? Okay, so we are coming up on 11:23. We've been on for an hour. I think we got
things to do.
We got things to do. We got a new year to bring in. 2021 is upon us. 2020 is ending. This is definitely our final podcast of 2020. As we head into a new year, almost been doing a full year here on Live Long and Podcast since we started the Star Trek Picard watches a year ago. So we've been going. Well, we did, Jaemeel and I did it many years ago, but this has been the first full year, so it's been great. It's been so great to do it with my wife, with Adam, thanks for joining us tonight, Mike. This has been great to have you here.
Nice meeting you.
Michael Chan, Jessica Chan, all the people in Star Trek Radio Theater. We also have our Deep Space Nine rewatches on Tuesdays with the Millards and Jaemeel. That's been great. We do our original series on Wednesdays, and our Star Trek Radio Theater, which we will be back for season 2. And Lower Decks we did this year. Star Trek Picard. This has been busy. this is a great time to be a Star Trek fan. There's so much different stuff out there. There's only more new shows coming down the way. We're going to get a new show next year with Janeway and some kind of Nickelodeon Star Trek or something, and we're getting Strange New Worlds. He's on the horizon.
Yeah.
I assume we're probably going to get another season of Discovery. I don't know if we'll get it in 2021 or not, or if it will be in 2022. I suspect the latter. But it's great. Keep it coming.
Yep.
And we'll tell you what you don't like. But this here we'll be covering it all here on Live Long and Podcast into the year. So thanks, and check out our other channels. We're also doing Super Mater Brothers podcasting, where Jeff and I and Jaemeel, we talk about Big Brother and Survivor. We'll probably be talking about Big Brother Canada come March, and we also have Trivial Debates, where we argue about movies, sports, TV, and more. Check out our latest episode where we had Jody Simpson hosting with Eamon Mater, Mott, and Chris Seymour competing, and we'll have another show in January. Okay, well that's it. Okay, well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy.
We hope you enjoy some
Happy New
Endorian.
Year.
Okay, let's say live